What is up, everybody? It is the EROCK Light Chronicles Part 3. I know it's been a while since I've made one of these videos, and I know it's not the best lit or most interesting location to my videos. Normally you see the stadium in the background or in the studio or something more interesting, but it's by far the easiest way for me to escape the family, escape work, to sit in front of the camera and just talk a little one-on-one Eagles football and NFL football with you guys. So I appreciate you hanging in there, and I appreciate you giving it a view, because there's certainly some thoughts I wanted to share. And first and foremost, before anything else and above anything else right now, I wanted to wish Eagles Nation in Philadelphia, across the country, and across the world a very happy 1-year anniversary to Super Bowl 52. It is hard to believe that a year has just flown by the way it has, and it certainly has really flown by, especially for us Eagles fans that lived in the moment. I mean, we had a lifetime worth of memories within a good solid, I don't know, 5 weeks, from when the Eagles played the Atlanta Falcons in the playoffs to the Super Bowl parade. I mean, that was literally a lifetime worth of memories, and it felt like, at least for me and for Gail and the rest of the 4th and John crew, we hit the ground running. We went right back in the studio, started producing content, and being as we were Super Bowl champions, you know, the draft was like literally right around the corner. Free agency was right there, and things just kept churning along. To be honest, it went so fast that I hadn't had a good moment. I still have yet to rewatch the game in its entirety. I've seen snippets, I've seen highlights, I've seen pieces here and there, but I still have yet to go back and watch the full game and in its entirety, start to finish, commercials and all, halftime show and all. It's just something that I get around to. Something else that I haven't gotten around to really is I hadn't gone back and looked at really the footage that I had taken from that entire Super Bowl run, because so often, you know, my first instinct is to hold up the camera, record what I'm seeing, whether it's at the tailgates or at the games or at the Super Bowl party. Or at the parade. I didn't have the opportunity, or I just, it's not that I chose not to, it's just things happen so quickly. I really didn't go back and visit any of that footage, but being as the Super Bowl was yesterday, and I'm going to touch on that, but being as the Super Bowl was yesterday and you saw so many videos and memories posted on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, it was really interesting to sort of relive that moment, those moments at the Super Bowl, at the party, on Broad Street, in people's houses, people's reactions with videos that were shared on social media. And pertaining to my own, I did share a video that, once again, I'll reiterate, I'm so used to my first instinct holding up the phone and capturing moments for social media that a lot of times it gets in the way of me really enjoying a moment. But when that clock ticked down and Brady heaved that thing up and it fell incomplete, for once in my life, I had my phone down and just wanted to enjoy the moment with my family. I didn't care about getting a reaction video or anything like that. But my boy Brennan, who you know as the guy who did the Jason Kelce reenactment at the home opener tailgate this year, he was there with his brother and his father. His family was celebrating with my family and my friends and the 4th and John squad watching the Super Bowl. And his brother, for whatever reason, I don't know why, did what I normally do, which is hold up the phone and get everybody's reaction at the bar that we rented out for the Super Bowl. And I mean, it was such a reverse of things, whereas I'm used to grabbing the camera and trying to share with the world what I'm seeing. I got to see my memory from the camera lens of somebody else. I did share that video on Twitter at the Mighty EROCK. You might have to scroll down a bit to a couple days ago, but it is there. It is worth a watch if you just want to get in your feels a little bit during the Super Bowl anniversary. And the one thing else I wanted to say about the Super Bowl was that, you know, we all daydreamed about what it would be like winning a Super Bowl, what emotions we would feel, who we would be with, who we would share that moment with, what it would be like to see a parade, to see the Vince Lombardi Trophy for the first time, what it would be like to just savor and soak in that moment. And very rarely in life does reality meet expectation. You know what I mean by that, right? I mean, we've all daydreamed about different things and sort of fantasized, if you want to use that word, about different things. And so often the reality never meets that expectation that we have in our head. But yeah, winning the Super Bowl not only met expectation, but exceeded it. And when I say exceeded it, I mean exceeded it by anything I could have ever imagined. It was such a unbelievable, magical moment. And I know a lot of you guys tonight are going to be, you know, sort of reflecting in that victory and rehashing over some of your memories. So if you got a good one, by all means, at the Mighty EROCK, tweet it at me, share it on Instagram, tag me on Facebook, because I have enjoyed seeing, you know, the Super Bowl victory perspective from different angles of different fans across the country, and I have certainly enjoyed it. Last night's Super Bowl was trash. I mean, it was absolute garbage, and I was so torn. I was so torn on who I wanted to win that game. Because on one hand, I wanted the Patriots to win because I wanted that Eagles listen, it means the world to us Eagles fans, but I wanted to cement it in NFL history because I wanted the only teams to beat the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl to be out of the NFC East, the Eagles and the Giants. The Giants did it twice. In all fairness, we split with the Patriots. The Giants beat them twice. But to say that you were able to beat Brady and Belichick in the Super Bowl, there's only two teams that can say that. And that's an incredibly special thing. On the other hand, I really did not want to see that fucking masshole shithead kid who's probably about 16 now, and every parade holds up a sign going, "This is how many parades I've seen since I was born." Like, I really don't want to see that kid again. But by the same token, I mean, really, who gives a shit at this point? I mean, Boston fans are so spoiled. Does this Super Bowl even mean anything to it? It was by far the worst Super Bowl ever. It was the worst Super Bowl ever played. It was the worst Super Bowl ever witnessed. This halftime show sucked. There was one other Super Bowl that was considered the worst Super Bowl ever. And if I got to go back and fact check this, so I don't want to be talking out of school. Somebody go back and look at this. But I believe it was between the Cowboys and the Colts. Was that the Earl Morrall game? I don't know. There was so many turnovers in that game. It was so sloppily played that the MVP was actually on the losing side, and that was Chuck. Oh man, I should have revisited this before I hit the record button. Chuck Howley. I was gonna say Chuck Worley, but I think that was an actor or a game show host or something like that. Chuck Howley. The game was so bad, the MVP went to the team that lost. That's how bad it was. But obviously, you know, yesterday's Super Bowl performance, man, what a snooze fest. That was just a terrible game. And it's weird that Tom Brady, one of Tom Brady's biggest accomplishments, winning his 6th Super Bowl, you know, comes on the heels of his worst game he ever played. Congratulations, New England Patriots. You got 6, I guess. Listen, if anything, and I didn't think about this until I was driving, and you know, the idea to do this video kind of popped into my head. If anything, the Rams losing the Super Bowl helped out the Eagles in the fact that, listen, what would teams be willing to trade for a Jared Goff? A lot, right? First overall pick, boy wonder, right next to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he was like the second best young quarterback in the NFL, and he completely shits the bed in the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, you got a guy like Nick Foles, whose offense put up, 41 points against the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. So, if anything, the Rams in that abysmal performance drove the value of Nick Foles, maybe a little higher. The best thing that come out of that Super Bowl, and I've watched it about 20 times, was the NFL 100-year anniversary commercial. Phenomenal job. Very rarely does the NFL, nail something so right that isn't cheesy, that isn't over the top, trying to, social change, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Very rarely do they ever nail it. And, man, they nailed that commercial when the ball falls off the cake. And if you can't name all the players in that commercial or that short video, not only the ones that were, actively touching or pursuing the ball, but the people sitting down next to them, because there was a lot of them you missed. I went back and rewatched it 20 times. There was a lot of them that you missed. If you can't name everybody in that commercial, I don't know what to tell you. Go read a book. You are missing out on some of the best NFL history. If you're watching a commercial and go, oh, there's Tom Brady handing Baker Mayfield some Super Bowl rings, you're missing out. You're missing out on fucking God damn it. All right. Apparently it's 10 minutes. Ha! No, we're beating the clock this time. So anyway, getting back to let's put the Super Bowls behind us. Getting back to the Eagles specifically. There was a article that came out today regarding Carson Wentz. Carson took aside some of the Philadelphia media and addressed the article that came out regarding him by the Philly Voice. I know a lot of people are going to look at this article as some sort of validation for what John said in the article. Those people, I would assume, are kind of easy to fool. You got to put the agenda aside and take a look at a well-prepared, well-thought-out, carefully worded trip on the high road, all right? Because one of Carson's criticisms in that article is that he wasn't easily accessible or easily approachable. Carson was going to have to address this at some point. It might as well be on his terms when he's not up at a podium, and getting ambushed by, 30 different reporters talking about an article that came out, months ago. So Carson Wentz did it on his terms. I thought it was very strategically worded. He didn't come out and bash the individual that wrote the article, nor did he call any of his accusations inaccurate. I thought that was important, because if he was to come out and say, listen, this John, and I can't even remember his last name. If this dude from the Philly Voice, none of what he said was true. It was all garbage. It was all hearsay. I don't know what this guy's talking about. If he came out and said that, I'd almost be more convinced that the article was true, because he would have been so defensive about it and that none of it was true and everything was all made up. And that's a slippery slope to go down. So I appreciate the fact that he said, listen, I'm not going to say it was inaccurate. But he did refute or put into different contexts some of the things that were said. In other words, the bullying of Mike Groh. No, he would have active and passionate conversations with Mike Groh, the same that he did with Frank Reich. This happens in an NFL locker room almost always. In fact, if your quarterback isn't challenging the offensive coordinator at times, you might have the wrong quarterback in the building. I mean, that's just the way it is. Calling a guy not a team guy, he kind of refuted that one. So, but he did say, he did do the right thing and say, I need to take a little bit more accountability. I need to look at this article and kind of look at myself and see how I can become better. Maybe take more accountability, maybe be more open to the press, maybe be a little bit more transparent. I thought that was important. And that's a sign of a leader. When you can be honest with the press and honest with yourself, and therefore be honest with the fan base and say, look, I can do a better job doing X, Y, and Z. That's important. I know some of the Carson Wentz haters out there will take a look at this as justification or verification of the validity of the report. Listen, if you want to be one of those individuals, just be completely prepared to look foolish next year. I mean, that's just the way it is. I know some people are all hyped up because there was a report come out that the Eagles plan on opting into Nick Foles' contract. Understand that once again will be a opt-in and franchise tag and trade. I am fucking convinced of it. Very rarely do I ever dig my heels in on something. On 4th and John, I'll give you opinion. I'll give you what I think. I will give you predictions. But man, when I dig my heels in on something, I'm pretty convinced that it's gonna happen, and I am more right than I am wrong by a long shot. I was right about Nick Foles not being traded last year. I was right about, you know, the Chip Kelly stuff. I was right about the Eagles doing, you know, the double jump to get up to Carson. When I fucking dig my heels into something, 9 times out of 10, I'm right. And I'm digging my heels in on this one, that the Eagles are not going to forfeit an opportunity to make the team better. And they're not going to let Nick Foles walk away. It might be risky, but they're not going to let Nick Foles just walk without some sort of value or some sort of compensation in the near future, meaning this upcoming draft. As far as 4th and John goes, we're taking a little hiatus. We're going to take a little break. Again, we've been on such a tear from the start of the 2017 season into the postseason, the Super Bowl, the post-Super Bowl show. I think we took 2 weeks off, and then we got signed by Wildfire Sports. And then, you know, doing shows weekly for Wildfire Sports in the offseason. Then we got picked up by NBC. We do appreciate the year that NBC has partnered up with us, the championship, you know, defending the crown year. We have some business to take care of on that end. I don't know where that's going, what direction that one's going to go. I do know, regardless of what happens, we'll be doing it from Wildfire. That was one of the things with NBC, and I'm sure I'm going to get into this in depth at a later date and time. But one of the things about being with NBC was we really didn't feel like we were doing anything too different. We were still broadcasting from Wildfire. We were still doing it at the same exact time, the same exact place. So regardless of, you know, if they opt in or, you know, we have a meeting with them next week, whether we opt in or opt out, whether they opt in or opt out. It's kind of like a Nick Foles situation at this point. There's a lot that can happen, but regardless of what the outcome is, you know, Nick Foles will be playing next year, and 4th and John will be right back on Tuesdays doing what they do. Regardless of who it's for or where it's at or who it's with. So look forward to 4th and John, you know, making a return probably right before free agency. So, yeah, that's that. Guys, I appreciate the time that you've given me, as always. Enjoy the Super Bowl anniversary. Please look through those phones, you know, reminisce a little bit. Get all in the feels. It's okay. It was our first one. You never forget your first. Nothing's ever going to be as good as your first. So by all means, you know, enjoy this night. Go back, revisit the Super Bowl memories. Hug your kids, hug your wife, hug your parents, hug your brother, and just let them know you love them, just like you did that night. Okay. Until then, go Birds, and I will see you. You know, see you around.